Tobias felt the warm glow of joy spreading through his chest. He sat back on his haunches, letting the autumn sunlight kiss his face as he looked up. He sat back completely, crossed his legs and allowed the gratitude of the moment to spill over in a broad smile. Around him, the saplings had grown into young trees in just one season. The cavern's environment, protection from the heat and constant flow of water, was perfect for growth. For plants and humans. Behind him, Mary laughed out loud at something Glib had said. They were busy conditioning the cured and tanned catfish skins. It started when Mary made some gloves for Glib. Andrew saw it and immediately recognized that this was something the rich in the city would like. He was right. They now had an order for 100 gloves just for the city. The other order for 50 gloves was for desert nomads. This surprising development began tentatively months ago, when a nomadic scout tracked the scent of fresh water to the edge of the rocks. Master had offered him a clean drink from the aqueduct and a basket of dried catfish. That small act of trust cracked open an ancient network. Now, the nomadic caravans regularly slipped into the shaded cracks of the border hills to meet the outcasts. A genuine camaraderie had grown from these exchanges. The desert travelers brought fine wool weaving and desert salt, staying long into the evening to share stories around the campfires. Andrew's silent wagons then connected these unique desert goods and the cavern's harvest directly to the private kitchens of the city aristocracy, transforming the isolated gorge into a hidden economic node. Master sat with his back against the wall of the room he and Joshua shared. He was savoring the perfect moment. Sunlight falling in ribbons through the orchard on Tobias. Mary and Glib laughing together, and Becca playing with the new arrivals' children. Their laughter echoed off the sandstone walls. How far had they come? From despondent rejects on a slippery salt pan to a vibrant community. He cherished the flow of water, joy, and trade. Right here, right now, their world was perfect, and he deliberately pushed down the gnawing discomfort of the purple clouds around the mountain peaks. After sitting contentedly for some time, Master stood up. It was time for him to relieve Joshua of his watch duty. The purple clouds caught his eye once more, and this time he did not push anything down. He walked deeper into the uncarved northern recesses of the tunnel network. Here, the air was cold and heavy. He stopped in a narrow, dead-end cave where the sandstone wall felt uniquely thin and damp. Master placed his bare palm flat against the cold rock face. Through the bone of his hand, the frequency did not arrive as a sound, but as a rhythmic throb. The sacred heart in the cap of his staff pulsed in response. Inside the matrix of his mind, Syrax stepped forward. Her ancient guardian consciousness analyzed the subtle changes in the environment. "There is a weak point in the membrane somewhere behind this wall, Master," she said. "Can Malakor enter here?" Master asked. "Probably, if he knew about it. But it seems he is concentrating his efforts where the peaks are closest to the membrane." Master drew his hand back slowly, his jaw tightening. It felt as if a cruel hand was squeezing the joy of moments before out of his heart. He stood in the dark for a moment, listening to the faint sound of Becca's voice carrying from the orchard, too far to make out the words, but close enough to know she was laughing. He turned and made his way out. Later that afternoon, Master stood alongside Captain Joshua on the high lip of the northern canyon, hidden behind a cluster of dry juniper bushes. Below them, the Great Dune Sea baked in the autumn haze. The threat was no longer an abstract report. Less than 10 miles away, the sharp stone sentinel pillar of Saffron's final supply cache cut into the blue sky. Through a brass spyglass, Joshua watched a thin, dark line of imperial scouts pacing along the base of the dunes. To the west, near the rocky approach to the canyon throat, 3 figures dressed in the distinctive lavender cloaks of Duke Marcus's private surveyors were hiding behind a low ledge, mapping the gorge entry with brass transit levels. Lord Julian had clearly hidden his humiliation from the king, choosing instead to let his father quietly prepare the slaughter for their private luxury resort plot. "They are positioning the anvil," Joshua whispered, his eyes fixed on the scouts. "And the Duke is preparing the hammer. The vanguard will move the moment the first winter frost hardens the mud." "We are ready for the wait," Master replied, pointing down toward the throat of the gorge. Following his gaze, Joshua looked at the massive, unmortared shale defense wall the outcasts had quietly finished over the last 3 months. It stood 20 feet high, anchored deep into the sandstone bedrock, completely barring the natural entry to the oasis. "The wall will hold a brigade," Master said, turning his face toward the veteran. "But Julian has kept the king blind to Saffron's invasion. The royal border forts have no idea that an imperial army is about to bypass them completely. Joshua, will you go with Andrew's wagons tonight? Find your old comrades in the royal guard in the city. Tell them what is happening here in the sand. If the king's garrison does not arrive to reinforce this wall when the pipeline opens, the mountain will fall." Joshua looked at his empty sleeve, then back at the secure, beautiful home the outcasts had carved into the cliff face. He nodded once, his posture straightening with the old authority of a commander. "The wagons leave at dusk. I will bring you your army, Master." Master did not answer immediately. He kept his eyes on the horizon, where the purple clouds were thickening at the peaks. "Joshua." His voice was quieter now, stripped of the tactical register. "When you come back, whatever you find here, know that everything we built was worth building. Whatever comes next." Joshua was still for a moment. The veteran had spent a lifetime reading the faces of commanders before battles. He understood what was not being said. "I know what you carry," Joshua said finally, his voice low. "I do not pretend to understand all of it. But I have watched you look at those purple clouds for 2 seasons now. You are planning something beyond the wall." Master said nothing. "Then plan it well," Joshua said. He gripped Master's shoulder once with his single hand, brief, firm, the way soldiers say the things they cannot name, and turned to descend the ridge. Master watched him go. Below, the defense wall stood solid across the canyon throat. Smoke from Rose's kitchen rose straight up in the still air. Somewhere in the orchard, he could hear Becca singing to the trees. He stayed on the ridge until the sun touched the dune crests, burning the sky the same violet as the clouds around the peaks. Then he turned and went down to help load the wagons.